So, continuing from where we left off last day, Owen, we had just finished looking at example 3, where we had launched from a 45-meter high cliff at an angle of 64 degrees. Did I say angle components? We had found that Vx was 15.781 and Vy was 32.357. We had found time. Now we get to part B. Part B also wants us to find time, but not total time of flight. Actually, we'd found the range in part A, but first of all, we spent most of our time finding the total time of flight. Part B says, at what time does the projectile reach its maximum height? Maximum height, does that sound like we're going to solve it vertically or horizontally? So I'm not going to do a full t-table. I'm going to omit the horizontal column. I'm just going to list my vertical stuff. What do I know vertically? I know AY was negative 9.8, and I know VY initial was what? It was 30 point something or 15 points. I can't remember which one. 32.356? That's only two things. I need the third. Yep. What's Vy final? Does that mean the total velocity is 0? No, at the top, for a split second, the only velocity still existing is Vx. So V total would be Vx. Okay, now I can find time. So I'm going to call this part I, because there's also how high. I'll call that part I. So let's answer part I here. I'm looking for an equation that's got a T, a VI, a VF, and an A in it. There is one. Spence. How about T equals VF minus VI over A? And just make sure I put vertical, 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 vertical. If you want to, you can put the Y's on there just to remind yourself. That's probably a good habit, because again, the biggest mistake, kids will put a vertical into a horizontal, or a horizontal into a vertical, or worse, a slanty into one of them, which doesn't even fit any of them. It's going to be 0 minus 32.356 all over negative 9.8. Zero minus 32.356 divided by negative 9.8, and I get 3.30. I get 3.3 seconds, but I'll keep that on my calculator. Annika, what is the second question? Second part want us to find? How what? I think that's going to be a dy. Well, I'll just write down here, dy equals question mark. Looking for an equation that has all of those. You know, I could use vf squared equals vi squared plus 2ad, but let's decide maybe in physics 12 we're comfortable using an answer to find an answer. I'm going to use d equals vit plus a half at squared, because the d is already by itself, and I've got my time value. Okay, so Annika, I could go this, d, don't write this down, vf squared minus vi squared all over 2a, and maybe that would be on I would do it that way on a test just to make sure I was hedging my bets, but I'm going to go that v initial. Common mistake again, kids want to use the 36 slanty. Isn't that the initial? No, it's neither vertical nor horizontal. This is all a vertical equation, so it's going to be dy, vy, vy. If I plug that in, I'm going to get 32.356 times answer button, haha, plus 0.5 times negative 9.8 times answer button squared. You want to be typing this into your calculator for practice, because otherwise that's just silly. Every year I have some kid that gets all the wrong answers on the test with all the right work, and it's because they were too lazy to try figuring out how to type these in during class. Don't be that person. I get 53.4. I'm going to do a quick check. I'm going to use D equals VF squared minus VI squared all over 2a, just really rapidly. Don't write that down. I'm just going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go 0 squared minus 32.356 squared, close bracket, divided by bracket 2 times negative 9.8. And the fact that I get the same answer says my time value must have been right as well. Yay! Except I got a problem. How come the answer is 98.4, not 53.4? Yeah. We're launching from a cliff. How high was the cliff? We found out how high we are above from where we started, 53.4, but we didn't start on the ground. Height is going to be cliff plus 53.4. So that's going to be 45 plus 53.4, and that ends up being 98.4 meters, I think, if we do the math. Hopefully, though, I would say, Nick, nothing new there. Hopefully you didn't learn a thing. You were just, oh, okay, I can handle that. C. Find the velocity at t equals 2.4 seconds. Ooh, this is going to be trickier. Did it say find the speed or find the velocity? I'm looking for magnitude and direction. When? 2.4 seconds. By the way, how long did it take us to get to the top? Are we on the way up or are we on the way down? I'm going to gulp. I think the velocity looks something like that. At an angle. Did I say angle? And I'm going to start out, Spencer, horizontally and then vertically, because we always measure velocities from the horizontal. So I'm going to go Vx first. And Vy, I'll call that Vy final, because the final right now is 2.4 seconds. Hey, I know one of these, because it never changes. What was it? I don't think it was 0. You need to, when I say what was it, that's my way of saying turn the page and go look. 15.7814. Cool. I don't know Vy. Or do I? Well, since Vy is vertical, let's do a little vertical table here. I know Ay was negative 9.8. I know Vy initial was, what was it, 30 something something something?
32.3566.
Oh, and I know the time. 2.4. Why can time go in the vertical column? It's a scalar. It can go in either column. Is that enough for me to find Vy final? And then what? Once I know Vy final, I think Pythagoras to find the magnitude, and shift sine, shift cos, or shift tan to find, oh, I know where I'm going with this now. Okay, so Vy final is going to be Vy initial plus At. It's going to be 32.3566 plus 2.4 times negative 9.8. And I get, why do I get a smaller answer? Isn't it accelerating? Shouldn't the answer be bigger than 32? Spence.
Slowing down.
It's on the way up, slowing down. Okay, and then once it reaches the peak, it'll start to speed up. But the only time it's going to hit a bigger than 32.356 is once it passes the cliff and has fallen further down. And it would be negative, but its magnitude would be larger. Okay, so I'm okay with that, 8.8366. I'm going to write that on my diagram, 8.8366. And I hope now this is why, I don't know if you remember at the very beginning on the first day, I said, you're going to get really good at trig. In fact, I said, I want you to get almost as good at trig as you got last year with formula manipulation. Hopefully we're in familiar territory now, almost eye-rolling territory. Pythagoras again. And where's theta going to go? Bottom left or top right? Color. Opposite. Tan again. Yep. So V is going to be that number squared plus 15.7814 squared, square root. The magnitude is 18.1. And theta is going to be shift tan of 8.366 over 15.7814. I get 29 degrees, 29.2. I'll go 29 degrees. Why would I frown if you said north of east for this? Yeah, if you say that, I'll live with it, but I'll almost certainly write a little frowny face next to there. What would we say? We would call this above the horizontal. That's the fancy way to say on the way up. On the way down, below the horizontal. And that's why we always have drawn Vx first and then Vy. Did you learn anything new there? I hope not. I hope that was more of a, I never thought of that, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Example 4. What if the projectile is launched horizontally? Now, we did this in lesson 6, but kids always seem to forget. Why are horizontal projectiles so easy? Zedrin, if I launch horizontally, what's Vy initial? You asked me this yesterday, so I'm wondering if you remember. So if we launch horizontally, that'll be Vx. What's Vy initial? 0. Because it right there hasn't started falling yet. And that means in your y column, you've got a 0 and all your equations become much nicer. But I've lost track of how many times kids put this number in for Vy because they're desperate to put something in for Vy. Don't put a horizontal into a vertical. Do not. Don't put a slanty into anything. Do not. Don't do that. Example 5. A projectile is launched from a cliff at an angle. Did I say angle? Components. Lands on the ground 5.2. Oh! This question's going to fall apart. Do you know why? They gave me time. A says find the height. B says find the range. Okay. Here we go. Components. Vx. Vy initial. T-table. What are my 2 physics no-brainers that I can write right away? Who remembers Vy? Is sine, you say. So I can just go 27 sine 30. Oh, 10 even? Well, that's bonus. Well, if Vy is sine, what's Vx? Of course it is. I'll go 17.3205. And here's the bonus. Look up. T equals 5.2. T equals 5.2. I need 3 things to find the fourth. I got 3 things in each column. What does A want me to find, Liz? What does A really want me to find? D what? dy. I've got everything listed here. I'm just going to make sure I only use verticals here. I'm looking for an equation that's got a dy, an a vi, and a t in it. Liz, which one? And is the d already by itself? Well, just straight plug and chug. It's going to be 10 times 5.2 plus 0.5 times negative 8 times 10 squared. What do you get? Mr. Dewick, my answer is looking... Do you get a negative answer? Does that make me nervous, or does that make me think I've done this right? This is finding a displacement, not a height. Did we end up above or below from where we started? So the fact that I got a negative, I probably set this up right. What'd you get? Is that right? Now, technically height is a scalar, and so you would say 80.5 meters, but if you just gave me the negative answer, I'd be okay with that. Normally, I'd be fussier because normally last year we would have done a whole unit with scalars and heights, and you would know the difference, and you would flip, but I didn't get to it last year, so don't care. Cool. Yeah.
Plus
0.5 times negative 9.8. Y10? Here? Oh.
Okay.
5.2 squared. Thank you. I made a mistake. I was writing in a hurry. I owe you a candy. You caught me in a mistake. I'll get you a candy later. Remind me. I don't know why 10 squared. For some reason, I just wrote it there. I'd like to think I would have typed it right, but who knows? I still make mistakes. B. Okay. Kiana, what does B want me to find? Range dx. Okay. Looking for an equation that's got a d, an a, a v, and a t in it. Same one? And I've lost track of how many times kids put the 9.8 into this equation. Don't do that. They want, there's no acceleration. Yes, there is. It just happens to be 0. It's wonderful. It's going to be 3205 times 5.2. So if you spend most of your time finding time, which is true, if they give you the time, the question falls apart. Or once you have time, the question's going to fall apart. You can find whatever you want. And I got 90.1 meters. Okay. Ooh, C. What's the final velocity of the projectile just before impact? Not 0. I think I'm going to I'm going to draw a little picture. And I think it probably looks like that. Might be steeper. Might be shallower, but here's what I know. It's going to hit the ground at an angle. Did I say angle? Starting to see the little domino trigger word there, okay? If you think angle, probably you're thinking, I better look at components here. Starting with the horizontal. Then the vertical.
Excuse the interruption.
Which one of these do I already know? Which one of these do I already know? What was Vx? 0 something something something? 17.3205? Is that right? And this one was 10, right? Or was it? Okay, so I sucked you in, and you can again see how tempting it would be. Oh, that's a VY, I'll put the 10 there. No, 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 no. By the way, if you put the 10 there, do you know what you would get when you found the slanty? You would get 20 meters per second at a 30-degree angle because you would have just recreated the original slanty velocity that I gave you. I need to find that. Well, Vy initial was 10. A was negative 9.8. Oh, and they told me T, 5.2. I could also use the D of negative 80.5, but I think this is going to be the easiest one to find Vy final with. It's going to be Vf equals Vi plus At. It's going to be 10 plus negative 9.8 times 5.2. Negative. Oh, was it on the way down when it hit the ground? I'm okay with that. Negative 40.96. So here I'll put 40.96. Why didn't you put the negative on your diagram? I did. It's the downwards pointing arrow. That's the negative. Where's theta going to go? Yeah. I don't know. Let's find out. Color. And I'll label the hypotenuse. This is V impact. That's what I'm trying to find. So, Owen, in answer to your question, it depends how you type it in. If you went like this, 17.3205 squared plus bracket negative 40.96 close bracket squared, you'll be okay. But if you forget to put the negative in brackets, it won't square the negative. So instead of getting that, you'll get that, which would give you an error when you tried to square root, but you won't always get an error. Sometimes you'll get a positive value just wrong. So that's why I tend not to bother cluttering up my diagrams with negatives. So I would type it this way without the negative. Square root. I get a magnitude of 44.5. And opposite adjacent tan theta is 40.96 divided by 17.3205. And I get 67 degrees. How would I say this? Below the horizontal. All right. Example 6. A projectile is launched from the ground with an initial velocity of 88 meters per second at an angle of 70 degrees with the horizontal. What's the velocity, magnitude, and direction of the projectile after 4.6 seconds? I'm going to dulp the original first of all. So here's the original. Here's the ground. 70 degrees is actually pretty steep, Kel. How about like that? 88 meters per second. 70 degrees. I'm going to do my trusty t-table. Oh, did I say angle? Components. Now, if this had been from a cliff horizontally, I could skip the trig because the x component they would have given me and the y component would be 0. Yay! But this is at an angle. AX is 0. AY negative 9.8. VY initial was sine 88 sine 70. And I get 82.693. Vx was 88 cos 70, of cos it was. And I get 30.098. Okay. I haven't even started answering the question yet. What does this question want me to find? When? I got a bit of a tricky problem here because, don't write this down, if that's the path, I don't know whether I'm finding the velocity over here somewhere on the way up or over here somewhere on the way down. So I'm not sure how to dulp this next part, because previously when I was finding velocity, I would say, well, I think it looks like that. Might be steeper, might be shallower. Or I would say, I think it looks like that. Might be steeper, might be shallower. I know it looks something like that. How can I figure out whether it's on the way up or on the way down? Oh, you know what? By the way, I should have also gone like this. What was that? I'm going to find Vy final first. If it's positive, I know it's on the way. If it's negative, I know it's on the way down. The other thing I could have done is I could have found time to top. And then if 4.6 is smaller than that, it's on the way up. If 4.6 is bigger than that, it's on the way down. But that's finding something extra. I really don't need to. I'm just going to find Vy final over here in the margin. I'm going to say, okay, Vy final equals question mark. Vy initial was 82.693. You know what? I got all my data sitting right there. I'm not even going to bother relisting it. What equation has a V final, a V initial, an A, and a T in it? There is one. Okay. Again, common mistake, Logan. Kids see initial. Isn't 88 the initial? It's not vertical. It's slanty. We're never going to use it. You may have noticed. Once we've done the components, we never go back to that slanty one again. So Vy final is going to be 82.693 plus negative 9.8 times 4.6. Hey, we're on the way up. 32.613. That's what I said. Now I can dulp. We're on the way up. Annika, I'm pretty sure my slanty velocity looks something like that. Could be steeper, could be shallower, but something like that. I know it's going up at an angle. Hey, did I say angle? And now I can plug this in, 30.098 and 37.613. This is why I've said to you, if they give you time, the question tends to fall apart. They gave me a time. I've got something I can go in both columns. I'm pretty flexible here. And this is the velocity that they want me to find. I guess theta is going to go in the bottom left, color, 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 color. And hopefully this is kind of getting repetitive now where you're going, Duick, I've done a bunch of these. Excellent. 37 point, oh, I got that sitting on my calculator. So I'm just going to go answer button squared plus 30.098 squared, square root. .2 meters per second at opposite, adjacent, tan theta equals 37.613 over 30.098. .51 degrees above the horizontal. And again, hopefully nothing new there, just kind of a little bit moment. I'm going to skip B. I'm pretty sure after 12 seconds I would find V final. I think it's on the way down. I'd get a negative, but otherwise it's the same question as A. It's just that it's going to look like that, I think. You'd have to find Vy final again with T equals 12. So I'm going to skip that. Okay. We're done the unit.
Whoa.
Except we looked at this question yesterday. How deep is the hole? I'm going to pause the video. Sorry, YouTube, you don't get to see this. What's your homework? I already assigned some questions. I assigned 1, 3, 6, 7, 8. Okay. You can do number 9. You can do number 10. 10 is easier. In number 10, they didn't give you the height. They gave you dx, the range. They gave you the 455 from the base of the cliff. That's dx. You can put that in the horizontal column, and you can find time. It's not a quadratic. This is a scholarship question. See if you can figure this one out. I'm not going to ask you one this tough on your test. So a projectile is launched towards the wall as shown at an angle. Did I say angle? Components. With what velocity does it hit the wall? So it is going to be a slanty. You will break it into components. There will be a Vx. The big challenge is going to be, can you figure out Vy final? They didn't give you time. Or did they? Okay. And you can also now technically do every question from the ultimate review.